Well, today we're going to continue with our examination, some reflections on the miraculous life of Gotama Buddha from SD 52.1. Today is the sixth talk. Today we will progress towards the Queen Maya's dream. Okay? We will kind of build up our reflection towards that important episode. There are, of course, this life of the Buddha is like a book you can read by yourself. So here in these talks, I'm kind of giving you some reflections that come to my mind, some things which are which kind of run across some of these episodes, or which are which underpin all the stories, or which overarch, which kind of give you a bigger idea of what's going on. Now, when we talk about life of the Buddha, we often hear today in the Sunday schools as if there is already a fixed pattern that the Buddhas will all arise like that. Of course, that may well be the case. We really don't know. That's tradition. In other words, we can, if we think in terms of some kind of system, that's the way it is. You have this person, many, countless lives ago, millions and millions of lives ago, many world cycles ago, in the time of Dipankara Buddha. He sees this Buddha and he's very inspired. Okay? This person's name is Sumedha. Then he decides to become Buddha. So it's something like from that moment on, as it were, his bodhisattvahood starts. And then there are various things happening after that. Now, once we talk in that way, there is a chance that people may say, in that case, isn't it kind of like fixed, something almost determined? So this is one of those issues we have to deal with. On the other hand, as you know, in the study of Buddhism, we're quite free, we're quite open to think for ourselves. We can, for example, imagine this Sumedha, okay, or whatever his name may be, long ago. He could have been like any one of us who's very curious about life, who wants to find out the nature of reality, and then he meets this Buddha long ago, and he decides to become a Buddha. So I suppose that could be the case. And another important point is we see him as a human being, right? The Sumedha is a human being. The Bodhisattvas are always humans. They are not divine. They are not subhuman. They are human. The reason is because I think humans, being Homo sapiens, the man who thinks, we are what we think, and what we think create our world. So once we have these thoughts in our head, a lot of other issues come in. So when we talk about the Buddha, we're talking about someone who's able to free himself from all these thoughts. So we see his life as a quest towards this inward journey, towards understanding his mind, understanding his own self, in other words. So for that reason, the Buddha will always be human, so that we can follow him. We can even become him if we want to in the long distant future, but we don't need to. Right? So, of course, to be human also means to be born. So he needs a mother, right? So that's another aspect of being human. And here, at this point, our Bodhisattva is still in Tusita heaven, so he is not yet arrived on earth, so to speak. So he needs this kind of channel to come to earth, to be born on earth, so to speak. And this is again a very human act, being born as a baby. All the great teachers, the great prophets of the various religions, they are all born through women. I mean, we may hear stories of some of these prophets or some of these mythical heroes coming from heaven, yes. But then they are purely myths and stories. But here we're supposed to take him as a human being. So he has to be born through a mother, through Mahamaya. So here we have not only a woman, she's a virtuous woman, a beautiful woman, and she's a queen, a kind of, not the kind of modern queen that we normally speak of. She comes from this, actually it's a republican tribal system, the Sakyas. Historically, at the time of the 5th century, the Sakyas, they were not really powerful, or they do not have the kind of power perhaps which they had earlier. The real power, or powers rather, were kind of in the plains of northern central India. We have the kings, they were building up their forces, and they were also looking for allies. Right? So King Pasenadi, especially, who is a senpai, kind of rival state of Bimbisara, and they are allies anyway. So obviously this king would like to be friends with the Sakyas, who are supposed to be very fierce warriors. So we see this kind of connection, the Sakyas and the Kosalas. And the king of Kosala, Pasenadi, shows very deep respect for the Buddha. So this we see often in the suttas. So coming back to the mother in this case, we're talking about the Buddhas to be born as a human being. She is a virtuous woman, she's the queen. It could be that both of them, Surodhana and Mahamaya, they wanted to have a child. So she was kind of like going through some ritual observances, making some acts of truth maybe, some vows even. We really don't know what's going on here. There are things we do not know. Could it be King Surodhana really wanted a son so badly? Could it be, if we are to let our imagination really kind of think anything we like, could she have uttered an act of truth saying that if I get this child, let me sacrifice my life in 7 days' time, I will pass away, or something like that. All this we do not know, but it's possible. Anyway, this wonderful virtuous woman, Mahamaya, she had a dream. So, and we have this dream recorded as section 2.4. So she dreamt the 4 guardian kings, of course 4 very significant here. Each of them is going to bear the leg of her bed and carry her up physically, of course this is in a dream, and bring her to Lake Anotata, the most sacred of the mythical lakes. There are quite a number of lakes in the Himalayas, and of course to the Indians these are mythical because they're so far away, they're so big, the travelers have seen them and tell stories about them. So in a dream, these 4 great kings carry her bed up and bring her along to Lake Anotata, this most sacred lake. in Buddhist mythology. And when they reach this beautiful place, there is this kind of like a high ground in that area, and they put it there under this beautiful tree. And then the queens of this four great king comes along. So of course we know here these are earthbound deities, so they have wives, and so the wife of these four great kings come and get the queen ready to be washed in this lake. So this is a ritual washing. It's like she's being purified to receive this child who is going to be very special. And then she's washed clean, and she wears divine clothes and so on, and she's kind of a different person, if you like. And then when she goes back, she's brought back to her bed, and she lies down there again on the right side, I suppose. Now what's interesting here is one of the details we get from the stories of Queen Maya is that she, according to one tradition, she lies down east-west. Now, if you remember the life of the Buddha, when he was passing away, he lies down north-south. According to some observers, they say, well, probably the Buddha was aware of the geomagnetic lines, so we do not know. But anyway, the Buddha was passing away, but he lies down north-south. But in the case of Queen Mahamaya, it was kind of east-west. So there she was lying down, with the head towards the east, the legs towards the west. It's almost like that there is this foreboding, this sense that she's going to pass away soon, because the west, as you know, is the direction of the setting sun, of death even. Anyway, she lies down there. And then the story goes, still in her dream, there was this beautiful building on a gold mountain. You got a silver mountain, a gold mountain. There's this beautiful building far away on this gold mountain, but which can be seen. And from this beautiful palatial house on this gold mountain comes a white elephant, an albino. Of course, we can say that this distant building kind of is a symbol for Tusita heaven, if you like, from where this beautiful white elephant is coming. And this elephant is flying. So it's a special kind of elephant, a magical elephant, if you like. Even at this stage, we can say, if we study Abhidhamma and Buddhist psychology, this elephant represents the birth consciousness of the Bodhisattva, if you like. Anyway, it's a story, so we should not be too bogged down with technical details. What we like in such stories is the joy of knowing these stories. So this elephant flies and approaches gently nearer and nearer, and then the features become clearer. Of course, maybe from far away you can't really see it's white, but as it comes nearer, you see it's a pure white elephant, and it has got 6 stars, 3 on each side. So it's a Chadanta elephant, one of the very noble breeds. Then, of course, you ask, okay, what does the 6 mean, if you like? I'm sure almost at once you think, oh, the 6 must represent the 6 perfection, right? But there's a problem here when we talk about the 6th perfection, because he's going to be Buddha, right? So he's already practiced the 6th perfection in the past. So perhaps we can say, yeah, that comes from the past. It reminds us of the past, how the Bodhisattva has been practicing the various perfections, not just 6, maybe more. Very often, such symbolisms tell us about the future. So if we look at the 6 stars, we can ask ourselves, what would it tell us about the future? Of course, in this case, we would say the 6 stars would represent the 6 higher knowledge, the Chalabhinya, the last of which is the knowledge of overcoming all the defilements. So, in other words, this Buddha is going to be fully awakened, is going to have all these powers with him. Now, the details are all in this book, so I'm not going to go into the details because it will kind of make you not read the book, right? So everything is here. I'm only giving you some interesting tidbits so that you think about it. You say, yes, I want to read this book. Right, so we see this, the three tasks, three on this side, so you have 6. Right? So the first 3, you can say, kind of represents the 3 training, right? The 3 trainings on the normal worldly level and 3 trainings on the spiritual levels, and we are looking at it. So that these are different ways we can look at it on a psychological level, on the spiritual level, these meanings of all these kinds of symbolism. Anyway, this elephant comes along, it flies near, and it goes round the queen. Oh, this is in the dream, remember? And then it goes into her right side, right? Of course, if you are a Freudian, if you study psychodynamics, you might say, oh, there are some sexual symbolism here. But again, there's not much of importance here. It's just this elephant coming in, and the right side is kind of, to the Indians, just auspicious. And what's interesting, later on, the child will also exit from the right side. If you remember, the child be born on Queen Maya's right side. So this is some interesting links we can see in the stories. So following this, there are many more portents, right? So we have many more predictions made by various people. The father, of course, is very concerned whether he's going to have a child or not. So we have this queen, she had a dream, and of course she's very happy she had a dream. To ancient people, such dreams are very significant. They actually believe these dreams would come true in some way. So this story of the elephant coming down and going inside Queen Maya represents in story form the conception, the consciousness, or the subconscious, or the what's called bhavanga, coming into Queen Maya. So she has conceived a child. So she wakes up, she's very happy, and then she tells the king, and the king too is very happy, and the king calls the wise men of his times, and the Brahmins and the soothsayers, and he asks, okay, what do you think of this? And of course they predict that Queen Maya is going to have a child. So the king, of course, is very happy with that. Now then, of course, comes the exciting part where the king wants to know, what sort of child will this be? Sometimes we might think, oh, it's better that the king does not know anything about it at all, because the king may not like it. But then kings want to be sure of the future. Here is where we have to see King Suddhodana as an ambitious king, like all kings. At least he wants to preserve his kingdom, and we can kind of guess that the political situation is not very stable in those days. So he's hoping that he will have a son who could be strong, who could at least defend the Sakya clan or Sakya tribe, not be conquered by the kings in the plains, the kings from the plains. So there is this, almost you can say, this wish that the king has to have a child who would take over his place and become a kind of what in the suttas later is called a great man, become a kind of world monarch, a world conqueror. In fact, we already hear this kind of prediction by the soothsayers. There were the King Sudana invited 108 of them and give them a kind of very good feast and give them all kind of gifts and so on, just to make sure that they are happy and would give a good prediction. 8 of them are very wise, right? Now this is where we see the beginnings of the Buddhist community which is to come. There are these 8 really wise Brahmins, and the youngest of these 8 is a Brahmin called Kondanya. Now Kondanya, if you remember, I mean, just to inform you, is Kaundinya in Sanskrit. It is a very ancient clan name, right? So Kondanya, Kaundinya, these are just clan names. So he is the youngest of them, and so 7 of these older Brahmins put up 2 fingers and say, well, this wonderful child, if he stays home, he would be a world ruler, a world conqueror, like Alexander, if you like. So this will be, of course, a solution to the rising power of the kings in the plains. On the other hand, there is a twist to this. If he leaves home, if he becomes a renunciant, which is another tradition which was available, which was followed in those days, if he leaves home, he will become a world teacher. Of course, to the father, the king, he probably will just hear the son be a king. That's what he wants to hear. He doesn't want the king to become, he doesn't want the child to become a renunciant, obviously. But you have the youngest of these Brahmins putting up 1 finger. He's very sure. He says, this child will be a great teacher. He's so sure. So here we see the beginnings of the Buddhist community, as I mentioned, because Kondanya is very certain. This is the Buddha. He's going to be a great teacher. So, of course, to the king, it's almost like he has a sense of relief. He says, well, you have 8 people, only 1 says he's going to be a world teacher, so the other 7, majority must be right. So the king was not too worried. And then the troubling part is when it was the visit of Asita, when Asita comes along. Now here, Asita is mentioned in the Sutta Nipata. He sees the Devas of the 33 very happy, and he asks the Devas what's going on, and this Devas say, well, don't you know, this child is born, right? So this, I'm kind of jumping ahead a bit. And then when he hears that there is this Buddha is coming, and he being a very wise man, he's waiting for this teacher to come. He rushes down to Kapilavatthu to see this child, to see, is it really true that this child is born? He's been waiting for this child. So here we see there are certain people, not too many, but a few, who kind of can sense there is this great man, this Buddha is coming. So the first one is, of course, Kondanya. And the second person is Asita. But Asita, as we know very well, he will not live long to be able to hear the Buddha's teaching. So in his magnanimity, he tells his nephew, he says, you must follow the career of this Buddha. He tells Nalaka, follow the career of this prince, and when he leaves home, be a monk with him. So Nalaka becomes renunciant, or he was already one at that time with the uncle. So you have Kondanya, and you have Asita, you have Nalaka. Nalaka is not one of the first 5 monks. Okay, that one we'll talk about another time. Okay, here you have the first link to the coming dispensation, that is Kondanya. Asita will die, he is too old. Then Nalaka will also become a disciple. He too will come to listen to the Buddha during the first discourse. So that far we know. So for today we will stop there for a while, and then we'll continue this interesting saga, interesting examination of this really beautiful story of the Buddha. With that, let us close with a short reflection. As we reflect on the life of the Buddha, may our life too be filled with joy and vision and direction, above all wisdom. Reflecting in this way, may we be blessed with wisdom and courage to aspire to at least stream winning in this life itself. And by the virtue of the three jewels and all the good that we have done, may we be blessed with good health and strength to continue the Dhamma work in this life. May our relatives and loved ones be well and happy. May those who are practicing the Dhamma to be well and happy. And may those who are lost and having difficulties see the true path in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.